I'm very glad to be here with you today, and my name is Linda Gail Arago. Taiwanese in the States know me better as Ailing Da, and here I'm sitting in Taiwan. And most people know that I was involved in the Taiwan Democratic Movement of 1978-79 and also in the human rights issues. So I'm very happy that I did take some initiative recently to be concerned about another very serious human rights issue because I met a doctor from Xinjiang at a meeting in Taiwan, and I thought he should come to Taiwan for a longer time and tell people what is happening in China. And when you really see the person and you really hear their experience, you feel it as you wouldn't feel it otherwise. So I'm very happy to be here today to introduce Enver, a doctor from Xinjiang. And Enver, would you please introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Enver Dr. Bogda, and I come from East Turkestan, which Chinese concern as the Xinjiang. And I was a surgeon in the city of Urumqi, and I'm here to try to tell you some stories.
Well, I've heard your stories because I've been at several of your talks. And in fact, it was about half a year ago when I first heard a little bit of your stories that I thought, we have to tell the world about this. So as I understand, you were a rather ordinary doctor in Xinjiang, especially studying cancers, especially doing cancer treatment. And then you had some rather shocking experiences. So maybe tell us a little bit about, first of all, when you were a little kid, you realized that there was some unusual radiation in Xinjiang, right? Some unusual dust. But then on another field, when you were a doctor, what happened when you were a doctor that gave you a sense that something is not right?
Yes, that's correct. When I was a kid, I was 10 years old, I guess. And there was one day in the summer, in the morning, I got up to go to school. And that day, it is very unusual. It's a weird day, and because the sun is nowhere can be seen, and it is deadly silent. Everywhere is deadly silent, but there's very tiny, very fine earth falling down from the sky. We don't understand what was that, and we were a little scared. By the time we reached school, our clothes is already white. Everywhere, all the world is white, covered by that fine earth. We asked our teacher, and our teacher said, there was storm in the Saturn. This
okay.
In English doesn't make sense.
You can't translate that, but it took many years later before you knew that China had done a nuclear test out in the desert in Xinjiang, and that time would have been about like 200 kilometers away from you?
Yes, Chinese conducted 48 nuclear device testing, but 2 didn't explode, and 46 exploded, 23 in the atmosphere and 23 on the ground, and in the place called Lopnor. But that is actually it is misinformation. They actually tested these devices in much more closer to the residential area like Turpan, only 140 kilometers away.
Yeah, but you see, people might think, well, over 50 kilometers, that's pretty far. But as we know from the nuclear issues in the US, quite commonly the wind blows the stuff, a lot of it, within 200 kilometers if the wind is blowing that direction. And you said that Japan even knows when China has a nuclear test. So how does Japan know that?
50 kilometers, 200 kilometers, if your perception is like that, let me tell you what is happening. And Lopno, that area, it is a very dry land. Probably hasn't been rain for 100 or 1,000 years, perhaps. When the device exploded, the nuclear particle with dust come to the sky and floating and all the year round. And every time the Japanese had protested for each nuclear bomb made by the Chinese because they have detected Chinese particles, nuclear particles above Japan. And so did Britain. Mm-hmm. So this is far more than 200 kilometers, just a globe.
Well, I know, as you have said in many of your talks, that as a cancer doctor, you found that the rate of cancer for the local people was 5 or 10 times, many times what it was in other parts of China, and for the Han people who had not been in Xinjiang for long. So how did you finally realize that this radiation pollution is causing cancer in Xinjiang?
Because during my time in that hospital, I noticed that local people, they occupy more hospital beds than the Chinese, despite the number and small of the population.
The small population that was in your railway hospital.
Yeah, that's correct.
Because you're only serving the railway hospital,
Yeah.
and the railway hospital, you said, serves 160,000 people who are working for the railway.
Yes.
But out of those, only 5,000 are native people,
Yes.
Xinjiang people.
That's correct, yeah.
Uyghur people.
Yeah.
So there's discrimination right away when we see that this huge machine and railroad work is in Xinjiang, but it's hardly hiring any Xinjiang people.
Compared to the discrimination we received, this is nothing to us, because we suffered even more than that. Let me tell you this as rough information, that the cancer rate among this native people in Xinjiang is 35% higher than in a Chinese national average.
That would be for all different kinds of cancers.
All different kinds of cancers,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
But you found specially that there are elevated rates of cancer for some particular cancers.
That was my evidence that these cancers related to the Chinese nuclear bomb, because in the international community, if you find in certain area, if you found leukemia, lung cancer, and malignant lymphoma, and thyroid cancer, then you will
Thyroid cancer.
thyroid cancer, you will automatically think that in that area there's radiation. Yeah.
Okay, but how did you realize this?
When I made that my private investigation over 2,000 cases, I found this for cancer on the top of the list. So I went back to my medical textbook and find one thing in common, that is caused by the radiation. And everybody knows that Chinese, they are doing nuclear tests.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and especially since you live there, you know they're
We
doing
know
nuclear
that,
tests.
yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay, but this is a huge scientific issue. It seems you used a somewhat scientific method to look at it. And so why aren't there some medical studies that we can look at to understand what is the epidemiology in that area?
This is something I'm wish to do, since this is only a one-man investigation, and this is so far this is what one man can do. Then I need international support to expand my area of my research and go much more deep down to find out the real damage caused by the Chinese nuclear bomb.
Well, so you would like to do this research, so why can't you do it?
There's so many elements to it, because I cannot go back to China, and I have been kept busy with a low-paid job.
Well, but let's get to the crucial thing, okay?
Okay.
So you told me that you are under 20 years sentence for revealing state secrets. What kind of state secrets are those?
State secret, it is the consequences of Chinese nuclear test towards this local people.
And that's just what you discovered from your medical records.
That's right.
So from doing your medical research, you
I got trouble.
You got trouble, and then you made a film together with an English TV station.
That's Channel 4.
And you knew that after that you could never go back. You left China in
1998, 8th of August.
8th of August, and you knew that you could not go back, especially after the film showed your face
That's correct.
And the film is called Death on the Silk Road.
Yes.
Death on the Silk Road. It has English, Japanese, and also a Chinese version.
And an Italian version.
An Italian version,
Yes,
too.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well, so then we're through, we know why then you're in Taiwan and you're not in China, and we know more or less then that this research has not proceeded. And,
That's right.
And what happened when you tried to get more data before you left China? Before, when you were still at the hospital?
No, I left right away.
Ah.
Before this film even showed, because otherwise it would be too late to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We destroyed all evidence, all these documents we found. We burned them out.
That is, you couldn't carry them out through the
We
airport?
can't, of course, because I have been strictly searched for 2 hours
At the airport?
at the airport.
Yeah. You must have been very frightened at that moment.
Well, since I didn't have anything with me, so I was quite quiet, and then eventually they let me go.
They searched you for 2 hours looking for evidence that you were helping with these foreigners filming.
They were suspicious, but they couldn't find anything.
Well, I think we have another important piece of information and a kind of smoking gun,
Yes.
which is also your personal experience before you left China, as you told me in 1995. And at that time you didn't even know what the meaning of it is, but you can tell us about it and then tell us what you understand now. So what happened to you in 1995?
1995, it was also someone, it was Wednesday, I've been called by my chief surgeon and being asked to assemble a team and with that mobile operation equipment and to report to him next day morning 9:30 at the hospital gate. Then he took us come to the Western Mountain execution ground. And we were told to wait behind the hill and come around after gunshots.
So this is an execution ground.
Execution
it's not
ground.
actually a prison.
No.
There's no prison there.
No.
But do people know there's an execution? You know that there's an execution
That is the
ground there.
famous execution ground, and that is officially designated an execution ground in Urumqi.
I see. Okay.
So after that and gunshots, we come around and I saw there were 5 or 6 bodies lying down on the slope of the hill, and they were shot to the back of the head, and so front part of the head is blown away. There are 5 to 6, and they were wearing prisoners' clothes and shaved. Head was shaved.
So they'd been in prison for a while. If they had prisoners' clothes and their head
Obviously,
shaved,
yes.
they had been processed through the regular system.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
That's obviously. Then a police officer come over and he told us that go to the far right, and that one is yours. I didn't understand why that one is ours, but anyway, our 2 chief surgeons was waiting there, and they told me take this body into your van and hurry up to extract and the liver and the 2 kidneys. So that time I become a robot. Just to do, I was trained and programmed to do. I did whatever they asked me to do.
Was the person still conscious? Was the person who had been shot, how were they shot?
The shot was to the right chest. And that I understood is deliberately shot because to make him not die immediately, to leave time for me to extract organs. And I finished that job, and I feel sorry for this man because
How many minutes did you take?
I don't know.
10 minutes, 20
No,
minutes?
it's much longer than that.
Much longer than that,
Yeah.
because you have to do it carefully.
Yeah. Well, I found this extract this organs from dead body or almost dead body, because you don't need worry this. You don't have to that careful. Because you don't worry if you have damaged the organ next to it, because anyway this is dying. So probably took me 30 or 40 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That still takes a long time, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
30, 40 minutes, yeah.
So I did it, and then just organs taken away by these two chief surgeons, and then they told me to go back home, and I remember there was nothing happened today. So none of us since ever talked about it. And in fact, I was trying to forget about it until I couldn't.
And you said in London, it was in London.
In Westminster, Ethan Gutman was presenting a book called The State Organs, and at the end of his presentation, he said, "It is extremely difficult to find first-hand evidence," and I raised my hand.
Evidence of organ harvesting.
That's correct,
right?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
And then I rose to my hand. I said, "Look, I have done one." Since then, we joined together as a team with David Kilger, David Matters, Ethan Gutman, me. We started our crusade of stopping Chinese organ pillaging.
Now, this is a real atrocity. I mean, this is an incredible.
It is.
You know, it's such an incredible atrocity. You'd expect the Nazis are doing something like that, you know, or some small banana republic would be doing something like that. But then you realize from all the films and from the fact that the organs have to be removed and delivered to the recipient very quickly, and this is a large-scale operation because you have to have a few hundred people ready in order to match the blood type and all this. So, I mean, it's done, obviously done by the government, and I'm just surprised that there is not more international uproar over this, that it's still going on in this day and age, and probably people going from Taiwan to China to get organs also, considering there are 10,000 Koreans that go every year. I think maybe our time is about up. I wish we could talk more about this, and maybe we'll have another opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.